Hello and welcome to our news today, coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center in Area 2, Lilongwe. And today you're with me, Bridget Mwanuka. Some of the stories making headlines. World's cardinals meet with Pope Francis to discuss predicate evangelium. Ombudsman report unveils lapse in COVID-19 funds management. Stakeholders call for collective responsibility towards commercialization of the agriculture sector. And elsewhere, Kenya's Supreme Court holds a preliminary hearing on electoral petition. We have these and many more. Stay with us. Pope Francis summoned the 226 cardinals to Rome for a consistory, and about 200 were able to attend. Many, such as Cardinal Leopoldo Brenes from Nicaragua, could not attend because of a political crisis in their countries. Others remained at home because of their age and health. However, this did not prevent the meeting from taking place, as the objective was clear from the beginning: to help the cardinals understand the spirit of the new apostolic constitutions, predicate evangelium, or as the experts say, to help move from paper to reality. Bernard Mwanza reading a Rome report.
200 cardinals out of the college's 226 participated on Monday and Tuesday in closed-door meetings convened by Pope Francis to reflect on the apostolic constitution, predicate evangelium, the document reflecting the Pope's reform of the Roman Curia. The event marked the Pope's largest and most attended meeting with the College of Cardinals. In almost 10 years of his pontificate, never has such a meeting been held, and such wide attendance was seen only 8 years ago when the Pope called the Synod on the family, inviting some 180 bishops and cardinals. Since the meeting was private, so far information is hard to come by. Vatican watchers know that the meetings are dedicated to discussing the new constitution of the Roman Curia. The cardinals were broken up into language groups for the first round of debates. Then they reconvened and discussed their findings in a plenary session, much like was done in recent synods. Reports indicate that the debates form the third consistory within only a few days. The first, on August 27th, was dedicated to creating 20 new cardinals. A second, immediately after, to approve the canonization of two blesseds, Giovanni Battista Scabrin, an Italian bishop and founder of the Missionaries of St. Charles, and Antamin Desart, an Italian immigrant to Argentina who was a nurse and Salesian brother.
Office of Ombudsman report on the utilization of COVID-19 response funds by 5 district councils has established that Malawi's priorities remain misguided and mispriced following revelations that 30 to 50% of the response funds were used for personal allowances. Presenting the findings earlier today, Ombudsman Gracie Marira said efficiency and effectiveness in the allocation and utilization of public resources remain mispriced and misguided. According to the Ombudsman, the report has called on the Auditor General to follow up with the existing forensic investigations into the misrepresented and misleading financial records. Alina Fepiri was there and she now reports.
The report recommends that government should re-examine the approaches of funding local councils through National Local Government Finance Committee, which is mandated to distribute and ensure efficient and effective utilization of financial resources among local authorities for effective and efficient service delivery. The recommendations follow findings of the Office of Ombudsman Systemic Investigation Report on the utilization of the COVID-19 response funds, which has uncovered Malawi's misplacement of priorities in addressing critical issues affecting the nation. According to Ombudsman Grace Malera, the systemic investigation targeted the first 5 districts of Zomba, Palombe, Lilongwe, Ncheu and Karonga due to resource constraints and has generally uncovered that the greater component of the funds in all the investigated district councils were not directed to the most relevant activities, as the bulk of the resources funded payment of personnel allowances at the expense of procurement of critical materials, including personal protective equipment, PPEs, drugs and other supplies.
In almost all the districts, the costs of paying personnel allowances has tended to outweigh the actual money that has gone into critical components like procurement of personal protective equipment, PPEs, drugs and supplies. So we are calling on government, we are calling on controlling officers to rethink and re-strategize on some of the financial planning that's going on.
According to the report, it is evident that weak controls and provision of oversight by concerned officers along the chain of financial management characterize the management of public funds in the district councils, which were targeted in the present investigations. Hence, the Office of the Ombudsman has recommended that controlling officers should take the necessary administrative action, including disciplinary action. This report is an extension to the December 2020 Office of the Ombudsman investigation on COVID-19 response funds management, titled Misplaced Priorities. This report is an extension to the December 2020 Office of the Ombudsman investigation on COVID-19 response funds management, titled Misplaced Priorities. The 2020 report uncovered acts of maladministration where there was abuse of funds by public officials in the course of implementing activities. In March 2021, National Audit Office released an audit report with respect to the 6.2 billion kwacha funds which were dispersed to various ministries, departments and agencies for the COVID-19 response for the period beginning August 2020 to February 2021. The report uncovered instances of malpractices in procurement and generalization of COVID-19 funds. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Alina Feperi.
The Ministry of Education has expressed satisfaction over the way this year's Malawi School Certificate of Education MACE exams have started. MACE exams started today with the candidates sitting for agriculture practices or agriculture paper 1 at 8 a.m. Speaking in an interview after touring Madzanje Day Secondary School, Ncheu Secondary School and King's Foundation Private School respectively, Minister responsible Agnes Nyalonje said she was impressed with the way the exams had started. More in this report by Hilbert Katanda.
Nyalonje said she was satisfied with the level of security at the examination centers and the invigilation exercise, among others. Spot checks in these examination centers showed that the Malawi Defense Force and the Malawi Police Service officers were keeping the administration exercise at short leash. In Lilongwe, at Chisomo Private Secondary School, in Kawale and Bwaila Secondary School, we found that candidates were already set for their first paper 15 minutes before time. However, the Minister said this sends a signal that this year's exams will be credible.
the schools I've visited, there's been a very good turnout with very, very low absenteeism. One thing I felt, and I'd like to point that out, one thing I felt as I went around the examination hall is a sense of confidence amongst our learners. The body language spoke of confidence. Let me also commend all that are involved in invigilating. I commended teachers for teaching our children, but let me commend those that are taking part in invigilation and administering the exams, both teachers and others, for making sure that we have credible examinations.
Tamandani Chigeda, a candidate at King's Foundation Private Secondary School, expressed hope that they will sail through following their vibrant preparedness of the examinations. This year, there is a slight increase in the number of MSCE candidates, who are totaling to 152,589 from last year's 123,000, 72,249 for female candidates. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I'm Helbert Katanda.
The Ministry of Health has called on the general public to start and continue practicing good hygiene so as to prevent contraction and further spread of the cholera outbreak. According to the ministry's daily cholera update press release, a number of measures have been put in place to prevent and control the outbreak, which they say is preventable and treatable. The update further indicates that major factors associated with the cholera outbreak in the communities are poor food hygiene, lack of safe water, and low latrines coverage and usage. We have a report filed by Jacqueline Saidi.
Despite a nationwide vaccination campaign that commenced in May, the country is still struggling to contain the cholera outbreak that has infected more than 1,700 people and caused more than 65 deaths, as the ministry announced they have run out of vaccine. The figures from the Malawi Ministry of Health are 3 times more than the numbers recorded when the vaccination campaign was launched 3 months ago. As of the 29th August 2022, a total of 31 new cases and 2 new deaths were reported. The cumulative cases and deaths reported since the onset of the outbreak is 1,710 and 66 respectively, with a fatality rate of 3.9%. A total of 1,607 people have recovered and 35 are currently in the treatment centers of the 14 affected districts. Luntha reported most of the cases, followed by Nkatabe with 479 and Nsanje 291, Chikwawa 131 and Neno 127. The Ministry of Health, with support from partners and the communities themselves, has put measures like setting up of treatment centers in all affected areas so that patients do not travel long distances for treatment, port-to-port chlorination of water in the communities where there is no safe water, administration of oral cholera vaccination, contact tracing of cholera cases, engagement with local leaders to facilitate latrine construction and use, including general sanitation and hygiene issues, and also community sensitization on prevention and control of cholera is being done in all districts in the country to help prevent and control the outbreak. Meanwhile, the public is being reminded that cholera is a preventable and treatable disease and can be achieved through drinking safe water, proper use of latrines, washing hands with soap after using the toilet and before handling food, using safe treated water all the time, and practicing food hygiene. For Luntha Television News, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
You're still watching our 7:30 news bulletin. Before we proceed, let's look at our top stories once more. World's Cardinals meet with Pope Francis to discuss Predicate Evangelium. Ombudsman report unveils lapse in COVID-19 funds management. Stakeholders call for collective responsibility towards commercialization of the agriculture sector. And elsewhere, Kenya's Supreme Court holds a preliminary hearing on electoral petition. Proceeding with our news, Malawians have been challenged to actively participate in the implementation of the strategies and mechanization and commercialization of the agriculture sector so as to increase production for the benefit of the farmer. The remarks has been made today during a stakeholders' discussions on emerging policy issues of agricultural productivity and commercialization held at Capital Hotel in Lilongwe by the National Planning Commission. It was noted that government, in collaboration with NPC, is putting in place the strategies which can only be realized if we all come forward and participate, and in the process making Malawi an inclusively wealthy nation. Tandiwe Mzumara was there in Shina Reports.
Transformation of the agriculture sector is central to the achievement of the country's Malawi 2063 vision, not only for the welfare of citizens, but also given that the linkage between the sector and industry would spur socio-economic development. The transformation will require a shift from low productivity and subsistence-oriented agriculture to a highly productive and commercialized agriculture system with manufacturing linkages. According to National Planning Commission Research Manager Andrew Jamali, among other efforts made to commercialize the country's agriculture sector towards productivity is the establishment of mega farms, which are being touted as a game changer in transforming the country's agriculture sector.
So many areas, we're talking about diversification, we're talking about markets restructuring, we're talking about irrigation development. All those areas are actually under focus. But if you have to talk about something that's already in the offing now, it's the buzzword now, it's mega farms concept. So that's what Malawi is currently, focusing among other efforts within the agriculture sector to commercialize, the sector towards.
The commercialization of the agriculture sector shall particularly target the youth with the intent of encouraging rural economic growth towards greater urbanization. In addition to improved productivity, increased income and entrepreneurial attraction, the drive to commercialize the agriculture sector shall be undertaken to guarantee that every household in Malawi is food secure and the dietary needs and quality are diversified and improved, with the surplus feeding the industry. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
Executive Director for Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiative, CDED, Sylvester Namiwa, has given the Malawi Police Service 14 days to provide an update on his abduction case. In a letter directed to Malawi Police Inspector General Marin Yolamu, Namiwa says he suspects that the police are deliberately dragging their feet on the matter in an attempt to protect the suspected masters who he alleged that are connected to ruling MCP. We have a report filed by Falisi Jizombe.
CDED Executive Director Sylvester Namiwa said a month has passed since he was abducted by thugs, but the police remain silent as there has hardly been an update on the progress of their investigations despite disclosing names of the thugs to them as a tip-off. He also mentioned that millions of Malawians are on the verge to see to it that matter is brought to its logical conclusion, as it is not personal but lays serious security issues to the general public.
The Malawians may recall that after being treated at the MBC clinic, I went straight to the police station to report the matter. At the same time, a statement was recorded. As I'm talking to you now, the identification exercise of trace marks and evidence was done, and we ended at the area 18 Puma filling station. And the one in charge of the investigations, Mr. Soko, challenged me that they're going to collect video footage from the CCTV cameras, so much that they will invite me for identification exercise in a few days' time. As I'm talking to you now, it's a month, exactly a month down the line, haven't received a call from Mr. Soko or anyone from the police.
We tried to get hold of the Inspector General, Meriniolam, but our effort went in vain as he did not pick the calls. Sylvester Namiwa was abducted on 27th July 2022 near Likuni roundabout in Area 3 along Tuntama Drive in Lilongwe and was dumped in Nantenje on July 28, 2022. Reporting for Luntha News, this is Fales Chizombe.
In other news, a 7-judge bench has begun hearing petitions seeking to overturn the election of William Ruto as Kenya's president-elect. Led by Chief Justice Martha Koome, the judges struck out 2 petitions and consolidated 7 others because they raised similar issues and sought the same orders. The court also rejected 3 applications, including requests by Mr. Ruto, who sought to bar the Law Society of Kenya from the case. Jacqueline Saidi reading a BBC report.
Kenya's Vice President William Ruto was declared a winner of the country's recent presidential election, having received 50.5% of the votes. However, 4 senior members of the country's election commission rejected the official outcome of the contest, citing an opaque result. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who won 48.5%, claimed that the election was null and void, while his running mate Martha Karua stated on Twitter that it is not over till it is over. This caused riots to break out in various parts of the country, although the mood has since calmed. Odinga filed a presidential petition with the Supreme Court of Kenya alleging voter fraud. He cited evidence ranging from a suspicious laptop and allegedly falsified ballot papers to the arrest of foreign nationals with access to the election's digital infrastructure. Meanwhile, Kenya's Supreme Court has set out 9 issues of determination that will shape the final ruling set to be delivered on the 5th of September. The court, which held a preliminary hearing yesterday, adjourned and resumed later in the afternoon to consider several issues raised by lawyers. The case proceeded to full hearing from today.
That BBC report read by Jacqueline Saidi concludes our news bulletin today. But before we go, let's look at our top stories once more. World's cardinals meet with Pope Francis to discuss predicate evangelium. Ombudsman report unveils lapse in COVID-19 funds management. Stakeholders call for collective responsibility towards commercialization of the agriculture sector. And elsewhere, Kenya's Supreme Court holds a preliminary hearing on electoral petition. That's all I had for you. Thank you for choosing Luntha Television. This has been Bridget Manuka. Thank you for watching once again. Stay blessed.